What's going on, Fight Night Gang? Welcome to episode 64 of the Fight Night Forecast, where we highlight, recap, and cover all things boxing, baby. I'm back. I'm back for a 2025 recap. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm sure some people will be rolling in here shortly. We're doing it live, baby. And obviously this will be on here later for the folks that cannot tune in live, that we can, you guys can go back and watch and see what my, what I've ranked as my top fights for boxing and UFC throughout the year 2025. Happy New Year to you guys. Hopefully you guys are working on your goals, enjoying a little bit of time with family and whatnot. I'm just gonna make sure everything's all set up and good here. Believe we should be. Let's see if we get the cop. My boy Ali said, bro, hell no, not the LA Lakers. I'll tell you what, I bought this hat because I really just enjoyed, I wanted a black hat, and I love, you know what I mean, it's not sponsored, nothing, New Era, you know what I mean? Bought this hat, I liked it, and man, I have caught nothing but flack since I've bought this hat. So, not a Lakers fan. I'm not going to pretend to be. I just sort of like the hat, and yeah, and I am suffering for it. But yeah, honestly, guys, Happy New Year to you. Hope everybody's working on their goals, man. Working on becoming a better you, whatever the case may be. I really appreciate you guys following the channel still. We did shorts. We did a lot of shorts, man, and we did a lot of numbers on shorts. This past year, you know, I'm thankful. We had a couple videos that went for some pretty heavy numbers in the millions. So a lot of new faces of the channel, most likely, I would say. And I think it's gonna, you know, it's gonna help build the brand a little bit more and whatnot. But yeah, so if you guys are new here, you guys came off some shorts, man, welcome in. Thank you guys. Thank you guys very much. Let me see. I don't know. We've kind of updated this a little bit. I want to make sure that I can still see the chat box and everything as they come up. I believe we should be good. All right, cool. I think we should be good. I'll be looking out for the chats once we get some people in here as well. But yeah, so man, honestly, again, this year my goal is we are going to be back to weekly lives. I'm going to keep the shorts up. I know people really do love that short form content, and but yeah, I'm going to bring, you know, we're going to bring lives back into the mix. I'd really love to do weekly updates again. Start doing the weekly. I mean, there might, maybe there's a couple weeks if there is nothing going on. Maybe not. Maybe make it more of a Q&A kind of style. I have been live on TikTok quite a bit as of late, and I really enjoy it. You know, I'm building kind of a little bit of a following over there as well, and it's been super fun. So, you know, add me on TikTok at the Fight Night Forecast as well if you'd like to hop in on some of that. So, let me double check. Sorry guys, this is gonna be a little, I know this is gonna seem a little rusty. I just feel like, for whatever reason. All right, bet. New year, new takes. What's up, Playland? What's up, baby? I can see the chat now. I appreciate you doing that. I was kind of tweaking. I couldn't see the chat. I thought maybe it went away. So, all right. But anyway, let's get right into it, man. You know, enough of the beginning stuff. First, we got a little bit of a studio coming together, man. I'm hyped about that. It looks good. He said, nah, I deleted my last chat. All right, bet. Because it was there and then it just wasn't, bro. And I was like, what is going on? So appreciate that, my man. Thank you for the lookout. So yeah, I'm going to start kind of with a year in review kind of deal. 2025 was a big year for combat sports, man. A lot of people, you know, a lot of people are like, man, 2025 wasn't even, you know what I mean? None of the events in 2025 count. 2025 sucks. I'm ready for 2026. I feel you on that. A lot of craziness happened, but for the combat sports world, there's a lot that went down, man. And there was a lot of big things that changed rankings. There's a lot of answered questions that we got from, you know what I mean, who's one of the best to do it. in boxing right now, and we'll get into that later. But man, there's a lot of big deals made, bro. Like the Ring Magazine has stepped in now, and doing all these events. The Ring 5, Fatal Fury, all those things. With them stepping in, I think that's an amazing thing. It's helped the sport of boxing so much. UFC announced a big deal coming up in 2026 with Paramount Plus, where it's going to cut their prices for the pay-per-views down ridiculously. You know what I mean? So I think it's going to bring a lot. It's going to bring a lot more people to the sport as well, doing that. So there's a lot of big things coming. A lot of big things happen. A lot of big fights happen. And honestly, what I did was I just took a list of all the fights that I really enjoyed watching, and I think even some of the ones I didn't really maybe enjoy watching as much, but I felt like they had some sort of big impact on boxing and UFC in the top 10 of each for 2025. I went ahead and just wrote those down. So I have a list of what I believe were the top 10 polarizing events for the UFC, and I have a top 10 of the same for boxing this year. So you guys know, normally, your boy is a big I'm a boxing purist, a lot would say, but pardon me, but a lot of people like UFC. I like watching it, so I'm gonna include UFC in on this. I always usually do on my weekly episodes when if there's a UFC event, I try to cover it a little bit. But at the same time, guys, please comment. If we're going through this list, please comment and tell me if you think I missed anything, or if you agree, or if you think my list is trash, or whatever you want to do. Let's hop in, man. So you guys know me. I always answer almost all my chats. So let's start it out. And what I did was I went 10 to 1 for each one of them. So 10 for the UFC, I have Ivo Aslan versus Ivo Baranuski. I'm gonna, you already know, if you've watched the Fight Night Forecast in the past, you've seen me slaughter names, so I'm gonna keep doing that. That's nothing different. 2026, New Year, same me. You know what I mean? The winner was Ivo Aslan, though, round 1 KO. Man, it was a short, high energy fight. I want to say it just happened. Like I want to say this was just a month ago, end of November or something like that. So it was a short, high energy fight, man. And sometimes those are fun for people to watch. It brings a lot of casual eyes to the sport as well, So, but I thought that was a big one. It was good. It was on a good card. Number 9, you had Israel Adesanya versus Imavov. I watched this. I was upset as an Adesanya fan, I don't want to say old school really, but and I'll get into this in a minute. But nonetheless, Israel Adesanya was pretty brutally KO'd. Obviously he's fine, got back up and was good, but I want to say it was round 2 KO. It was tough for someone like me to watch. See, I got into the UFC, been into boxing forever. Got into the UFC, I would say, around that kind of title run, where McGregor was, double champ, all that stuff, and McGregor kind of died. He went and fought. He died off a little bit. He went and fought Mayweather, and then there wasn't really much after that, especially once he lost to Khabib. So I kind of came in that era. And Adesanya was, at that time, kind of on his on a legendary run, really, you know what I mean? So that was tough for me to see this almost changing of the guard a little bit. Like a lot of these guys, and we'll talk about this maybe a little more later, but I feel like there's a huge changing of the guard in the UFC in the past couple of years, and this year solidified it quite a bit. Like you got the guys like Adesanya, kind of on their way out, Paulo Costa on his way out. Which he didn't have too big of a run, but you know what I mean? He was still in that era. Yoel Romero, Who else? I'm thinking there's Leon Edwards kind of came and went in the past, year, 2 years, but really this year kind of dropped off heavy. I can't remember. He's the other dude. Was a phenomenal champion, and he's got a podcast now. I don't know why I can't think of his name. Hold up. That's gonna drive me nuts. Your boy's got a, you know what I mean? You can't see it, it's over here, but your boy's got a computer now too, so I can, whenever I'm brain farting out like I am right now, I can low key pick it up. I'm trying to think of his name. Kamaru Usman. Literally 2 seconds in of looking it up, I found it. Kamaru Usman, like we kind of watch all these guys. We're watching this changing in the guard in the UFC where all these younger guys and predominantly Eastern European guys are coming in and really, showing out and doing their thing. So, but yeah, super cool. But it was one of those feelings for me where I was like, man, this kind of sucks. So, but anyway, next, Merab versus Nurmagomedov, man. Merab ended up winning that by unanimous decision. It was, it showed that there's some guys out there like Merab that they have insane cardio. And it just goes to show how much the cardio matters in this sport. And it was nonstop pressure, and it was a lot of wrestling. And I will say one thing with it being as much wrestling as it is, it was exciting. A lot of people get mad when the UFC tends to lean towards the groundwork and the all that instead of the striking, more or less. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it was a lot of. It showcased some really good, some grappling, and it just showed like, man, this dude's got cardio like crazy. You know what I mean? So I thought that was a very, very polarizing fight. I think it was a big fight. Merab went on a crazy run this year, and actually he's actually down here further on the list as well. So Mauricio Ruffy versus King Green. Mauricio Ruffy ended up winning KO round 1. It was a crazy spinning strike that ended the fight. It was a round 1 knockout. It went viral and it was highlighted everywhere. So I just thought, with that being as big as it was, I think that it was could very easily be in the top, say 10, maybe top 10 knockouts of all time in the UFC. Maybe, I don't know, but nonetheless, I think it made my list for 2025. So next we had Alexander Volkanovski, and I would say this is like one that kind of goes against what I was saying earlier about that changing in the guard. For a while I was like, man, Volk's out of it, but it seems like he's kind of bounced back. But he fought Diego Lopez. He won by unanimous decision. It was a great fight. A lot of tactical work that went down. Volk is a technician, and we know that. But yeah, it was good technical performance, and it kind of put Volk back on the, I wouldn't say all the way, but it put Volk back on the wagon a little bit, I think. You know what I mean? So, but yeah. Number 5, this one tugged on my heartstring, and this kind of same thing, that change in the guard, man. There's a lot of it that went down this year. But these guys both, it wasn't like a young guy versus a veteran, you know what I mean? It was 2 veterans. Number 5, I had Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier. I believe it was their 3rd fight this year. They fought the 3rd time. It was 5 rounds of insane tactical striking. 2 guys that just went in there and laid it out all on the line. It was fun to watch. Dustin Poirier, as you guys know, if you've watched my channel before, Dustin Poirier is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, all the way, UFC fighters. Pardon me. So it was tough to see him go, but Max Holloway took it away, and kind of, they say it was a farewell for Dustin Poirier. I don't know if that's the case. Who knows in this day and age? A lot of people come in and out of retirement. So, but yeah. Number 4, I have Petr Yan versus Merab. This is a good fight. Once again, it just the guys had relentless pressure, man. Petr Yan won by unanimous decision. But he bested Merab, and I think we're gonna see that fight probably ran back in 2026, I would imagine, maybe. But yeah. So again, it was just kind of a get back fight for Petr Yan, man. Like he needed that win. It was big. But yeah, I think that was easily. I watched that fight and I was so entertained by it. The whole card was an awesome card. So next, number 3, I had Ilia Topuria. Hard to not put that man in the top 3 with the run he's had. I do know he's in some legal stuff and whatnot now. I don't know what the future holds for him with fighting. I need to do a little bit of more research into that before I, give you guys the full take, I guess you could say, on it. But yeah, so but he put on an amazing fight this year with Charles Oliveira. Topuria did win. Pardon me. Round 2. We were afraid of that happening. Ilia Topuria coming in and kind of taking Oliveira to the cleaners. You know what I mean? Kind of a lamb to slaughter, if you will. But nonetheless, it was a good fight. I think that it solidified Ilia Topuria as a star in the UFC. And again, I know everything that's going on now kind of put a halt to that. But that KO kind of put everything into perspective, kind of what we're dealing with Ilia Topuria. And yeah, and honestly, man, it changed the lightweight title picture. It really did. So there's a lot to that division now that's happened. Number 2, I got Alex Pereira and Ankalaev 2. This was a highlight level knockout. Yeah, I believe it was round 4. Again, just elite striking. We're all entertained by Alex Pereira. And, Ankalaev won the first one. Pereira came back and kind of got his get back. It was very dramaed. There's a lot of drama. A lot of people were like, if Pereira had this huge run, and if he got to this, even more elite level, competition, I guess you could say, they were kind of like, how was he going to stack against this, more or less, you know what I mean? So I think, but he won, and I think it kind of cemented him and his legacy. And, now it's kind of setting him up right now, possibly for a fight with Cyril Gane at heavyweight, while we're, figuring out what's going on with Tom Aspinall, if there's going to be a rematch with that or whatever. So I think it was a good get back. It was a fun fight. I remember being excited for this for weeks before it came, and it went great. So, and number 1, and arguably 1, 2, and 3 could probably be a little possibly moved around a little bit, but this is just kind of how I ended up landing it. I had Joshua Van versus Brandon Royval being the number 1, and it was an insane fight. Brandon Royval won. It was a split decision, so it was a close call by the judges. There was momentum swings back and forth. It was honestly, you could really just say it was 5 rounds of chaos. It was nuts. There was ups and downs. That's why it ended up being a split decision. It was one of those things where I went into that. I can't remember what card that was on. That was on a card. I don't even think that wasn't even a main card, obviously. I want to say, was it on the same? It might have been on the Ankalaev. Joshua Van. Yeah, let me see. Joshua Van. It's UFC 317. UFC 317. What was that? What card was that, though? Let me see here. Let's look at the total. All right, I pulled it up. Let's look at the total strikes on this. To Brandon Royval. I'm sorry, I think I mixed that up. Did I say Brandon Royval won? I meant to say Joshua Van won. I'm an idiot I think I mixed that up. That was my bad. Let me see. Did I have that? I don't have that in my notes right, I believe. Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant to say meant to say Joshua Van won. I had that in my notes correctly, but I said it wrong. Joshua Van won. It was a split decision. But yeah, so look at these. Look at this here. So Joshua Van had a knockdown. Joshua Van had 209 of 311 total strikes. Brandon Royval had 216 out of 468. That's insane. 311, so was that about 800 punches thrown altogether in that fight? That is exactly why I have it as number one. My number one fight for the year. If you have a chance and you did not see that fight, go back and watch it. So, an amazing fight. UFC had a great year. I think they had a lot of fun fights. They had some letdowns, obviously. We had some big cards that ended up being letdowns, but I think moving into 2026, I'm excited about the Paramount Plus deal. I believe it's Paramount Plus. I'm excited about that. I think it's going to be great for the sport. I think more people will be involved. I think the pay-per-view paywall is something that's going to start slowly going away. It just makes sense, man. Like, if you can get a brand deal with someone like a Paramount Plus that's going to feed all that money into the UFC, and you're able to make it cheaper for the customers to watch, you're going to get more eyes, more ad revenue, things like that. And I'm no like business guru or anything, but I think that obviously they are. So if they're running this and they're like, hey, we can do this for a lot cheaper, we're gonna, they're doing it for a reason. They're not just doing it for fun. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, so let's keep it rolling, man. I'm gonna try to. I know it's New Year's Day. A lot of people are recovering from last night, if that's what you're into. A lot of people were just like, hey man, I got the day off work, I'm chilling. So I'm not gonna, keep this rolling too heavy. We are gonna move into boxing now, man. You know what I mean? My bread and butter. So I'm gonna be able to get into this a little bit more with y'all. But I'm gonna try to keep everything rolling properly, and try to get us out of here pretty quick. And like I said, again, I know it's something that I want to do. I want to be back in you guys' face more often. So definitely be looking out for more lives, and we're going to only get better and better with it again, man. I'm a little rusty, but once we get back rolling and get everything into it, these episodes are only going to get better and better again. And then I'm probably going to try to keep going live on TikTok, where more of an informal setting where you guys can come and we just kind of have a chat and chill or whatever. So all right, let's get into it. Top 10 boxing matches of 2025. I'm hyped. Now, I'm not hating on the UFC or nothing, but this is, everyone knows this is my bread and butter, bro. So, all right. Anyway, so let's get into it. Number 10, Pitbull Cruz versus Angel Fierro. Great fight. Cruz used pressure and volume. Fierro had some sharp counters. But at the end of the day, Isaac Cruz took it, and this is kind of what ended up, this win over Angel Fierro ended up leading into, sorry, can't speak today, into that the fight with Lamont Roach that ended up being a draw, obviously. But this was kind of that defining fight for him, I think, since he fought Gervonta Davis. So it was a good fight. I thought it was fun. I thought it had a lot of implications in the division, so that's why I put it in there, number 10. William Zepeda versus Tevin Farmer. I thought this was here's the thing, guys, too. I think with this, a lot of people are going to go, man, why didn't you say this fight, or why didn't you say this fight, or whatever, or, Devin Haney fought, or whoever, like, why didn't you put that in there? I'm not just going to do names. I'm not just going to name drop big names. Obviously there's some phenomenal fights on my list of boxing here that probably are not going to be listed on here. And there's going to be some of these that are listed on here that people are going to be like, man, I don't know about that. But I'm talking top fights 2025 that had big implications for divisions, or obviously when we get to the bottom ones, there's going to be some big pay-per-view ones that went down and that also had some big implications, just things like that. So there's going to be some on here that are honorable mention. I might even, after we're done, just go through and highlight some honorable mentions, or whatever. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, William Zepeda, Tevin Farmer, majority decision in the way of William Zepeda. It was a competitive rematch. Had a lot of momentum shifts. It went back and forth. It was honestly one of those fights too. Like, obviously it was a majority decision. I thought it could have went either way, but it was a fun fight. William Zepeda ended up fighting Shakur too. I didn't put this on the list, but this is one of those things again that led into getting that Shakur fight this year. So big deal. Which is the Shakur fight. I love Shakur, but it didn't make my top 10 because it just wasn't as interesting of a fight. So let's keep it rolling though. I put it in as 8. It was honestly, I really enjoyed this fight. I was excited for it. David Benavidez versus David Morrell. Obviously, David Benavidez won. And it was really kind of a test for David Morrell to see where he was at. And not that David Morrell failed, but it just showed that there's levels to the game. And David Morrell, didn't live up to it. But I thought it was a fun fight. I really, really did. I thought it was a big, again, it shaped boxing because it was one of those fights that kind of led to David Benavidez, pardon me, moving on to his next fight from there. So, what was it here? Let me lay this up here, dude. Yeah, because David Benavidez, I wanted to see when, what date that was. February 25th, that's when they fought. So it was earlier in the year, and then obviously we know right before Thanksgiving, David Benavidez fought Anthony Yarde. So that led into, though, that was it was for the interim WBC World Light Heavyweight title. I don't want to say it like cemented him into light heavyweight because it's not true, but yeah. So, David Benavidez is just an animal, bro, and that's just what it is. And but I thought it was a fun fight. I think it was a more fun fight, obviously, than the Anthony Yarde fight. So that's why I included that one in there as opposed to the Anthony Yarde fight. So, and it was a 3rd round KO, which is insane. I believe it was 3rd round KO. Let me see. What was it? No, it wasn't. It wasn't a KO. Was it a decision? I think it was a decision. Yeah. I believe it was a decision. Let me see. I don't know why it's not showing me that on the... Where was the loss? Yeah, it was a decision. 118 to 108, 115, 111, 115, 111. So yeah, it was all decisioned out. So, yeah, pretty dope. Anyway, let's keep it rolling. Number 7, Naoya Inoue and David Picasso, which that actually just happened. I think it was a great fight, and it just goes to show how Inoue. I think Inoue had 4 fights this year, 4 wins, staying active at a high level. A lot of people sleep on him, I feel like, still, even though he just does nothing but win and does nothing but put on phenomenal everything that dude does is phenomenal, pretty much. I saw there was a meme earlier this year where people were like, man, I cannot believe Inoue gets away with fighting 4 bums a year. You know what I mean? And getting to do all that. So, and that's crazy because if you look up his box record, it's insane. Anyway, speed and precision controlled the entire fight. It came down to unanimous decision. It was great. Number 6. Now we're getting into some of the good ones, baby. We got Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol rematch, and we know Dmitry Bivol won the second fight. We're wondering, is it going to lead to a 3rd fight, or are we going to end up seeing Benavidez come in? There was a lot. I think all the belts or most of the belts were stripped. So Bivol ended up getting hurt. He's coming back from an injury. So, but yeah, nonetheless, fire. It was a great fight. I could go into a whole episode about how good both those gentlemen are. So I'm not gonna get into it too heavy. But number 6. The rematch of Beterbiev and Bivol for sure. All these are pretty much the top 5 and on now are going to be pretty hype, man. So we got Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero. this is going to be crazy, right? A lot of people are like, I can't believe you added this fight in there and you didn't put the Devin Haney fight or whatever on there. But this was a pivotal fight for Rolly Romero. It kept him relevant. It makes you remember that. And of course, that whole deal there, I thought that was going to be a phenomenal card. They had Tiafimo on there. They had Devin Haney, and they had Ryan Garcia, like, all headlining it, you know, and they had a bunch of young talent on there and everything. But it ended up being a complete flop. Like, I feel like the whole thing ended up being a flop, and it was weird, and they did it outside in Times Square and all this stuff. And it just goes to show that, like, you can overhype yourself on some of this stuff, and Ryan definitely did. He overhyped himself against Rolly Romero, but it kept him balanced. And Garcia controlled pretty much all the early rounds, but it just turned into, Rolly Romero had a couple big hits, man, and completely changed the tide, man. But that being a major upset like that, I don't want to say it like took away from Ryan or anything like that, but it shook up the rankings a little bit. You know, I know we have Ryan, I think, fighting Mario Barrios early 2026, I think, which we'll probably go into that next week or the week after, you know, whatever we end up doing. Kind of looking ahead to 2026 and seeing things that we're, going to look at and talk to. But yeah, crazy fight, kind of a frumpy card, but we won't go into that, too much. So number 4, I got Jaron Boots Ennis versus Imanis Stanionis. I think that was a super fun fight. Ended up being a unanimous decision for Jaron Ennis. It just goes to show, his unification bout at 147. It was, I'm sorry, I don't think it was 147. It was 54, wasn't it? Oh boy. I had to figure out. I think that was, I want to say that was 150. It's 154. But I could be tripping. I didn't write it in my notes. Because, again, you know what I mean? Your boy's a little rusty. Let me see what we got here. Hey, listen, at the end of the day, it's not always, it's authentic. We're being authentic. I'm working way back into it. We're being authentic. Internet's not working great now. All right, let me see. Jaron Ennis. There he is. Let's see. I'm gonna laugh when I figure out. Let's see what we got here. Jaron Ennis. I was right. Welterweight, 147. So he brought them together because he beat Karan Chikadzian and they beat Staniotis. So it was a welterweight bout there. I think I want to say he unified 3 of the 4 or 2 of the 3 or 2 of the 4 or whatever. And then his last one against Lima, that was his first fight at 54. So, yeah, I was tweaking on that a little bit. But yeah, I thought that was a fun fight. Stanionis is always a tough fight. I don't care who's fighting him. Yeah, I think it was a good fight. It was a good farewell fight, I guess, for Ennis. I think Jaron just got to the point where I don't think he can make 147 as much as he thought he could. But yeah, so, all right, so that's 4. Number 4, Jaron Ennis and Imanis Stanionis. Now, number 3, we're in our top 3 now. This one's tough. I went ahead and just put both their fights in here, but Chris Eubank and Conor Benn. They had both fights in 2025. I'm going to loop them together. I didn't want them to take up 2 spots because I think the second fight, as pivotal as it was that Ben came back and got his lick back, right, and they evened it out, it wasn't as good of a fight as the first one. I think the first one was just a good fight. It was very tactical. There was a lot of defense, and then obviously Conor Benn brings it with that power and all that, so it was a fun fight, man. It was a fun fight. I think it was a lot more fun than the second one. The second one ended up having some health implications for Eubank, which I believe he has recovered from, but yeah, so I think that was a super fun fight. It was cool to see that like kind of rivalry for the whole, it was 30 years in the making between their dads and all that stuff. So I thought that was super fun. I think it was good. We just finally saw it. Those guys have been calling each other out for a grip. and then we just finally got it to happen. So I think that was a huge pivotal moment for the sport this year, and it was super fun and made for 2 good fights. So, all right, bet. Let's keep moving on. Number 2, I got Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois, the second fight. I can't remember which date this was. Give me a second. I know it was earlier in the year, but I want to make sure that I got the date right. Again, great fight. Let me see here. Let's do Usyk to fight date. July 19th. Sorry, it was not earlier in the year. It was like perfectly right down the middle. So yeah, anyway, it was a good fight. It was a good fight. And I want to say that's Usyk's last fight. He hasn't fought again since. Yes, he has not fought again since. I thought I was tweaking, but I'm hoping to see him again in 2026. But yeah, let's see what we got here. Pardon me. Yeah, Usyk scored those knockdowns in the 8th and the 9th. He ended up finishing him. So I think it was just a good fight. It was a title-defining fight. It was for undisputed, which I think it was because they had dropped a belt from Usyk or something like that. So, technically now he's a 2-time undisputed or whatever. But it was a high-profile fight. We all wanted to see it. We all wanted to see what Usyk was going to do next. And we wanted to see if the low blow that Daniel Dubois gave to Usyk in the first fight was a fluke, or whatever. So they ran it back the second time. Everything went, kind of how we thought it was going to, but it set up. Usyk is honestly one of the best heavyweights in this generation. So, kind of made you wonder, is there much else for Usyk out there at this point? But yeah, so I put it at number 2, and realistically, you could maybe, I don't know. No, there's not really a way to flop these around. I think Usyk, doing, the second time undisputed and all that, or third time undisputed, technically, second time in the heavyweight division. Them doing that, I think that was a safe number 2, leaving it right there at number 2. And obviously number 1, a lot of you guys probably already know it's coming, but the number 1 boxing event of 2025 was Terrence Bud Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. And I'm sure most of you guys watched it, that follow this channel, or maybe even if you just stumbled upon this channel, you probably watched it. Probably one of the biggest fights of the decade. Right there along with Bud Crawford and Spence. So Spence and him obviously had that fight back in 2023. Def agree with the number 1. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I agree. It had to be number 1. I know a lot of people are probably like, man, we all know number 1's going to be this, but there's just no way. Usyk, I think, again, was a fun fight. But it defined this year in boxing, right? It really did. It was a great fight, unanimous decision. And one of the biggest reasons is, like I said earlier, polarizing in the fact that we wanted this question answered for so long. Who was better, Terrence Crawford or Canelo Alvarez? And you had people, I'm not going to lie, and you guys know me, I went with Canelo. I thought Canelo was going to win. I was like, man, no way Crawford's going to bop up the, 2 divisions or whatever and do this. So I was on so many boxing forums. I was talking to other boxing content creators. I was hopping into their lives on TikTok, things like that. We were talking a few times. I got pulled up and we were talking on TikTok. Just about, it's crazy because the comment section was literally so 50-50. We had, there were so many people that were like, no, Crawford's got this. You guys are sleeping on Crawford. And then, obviously the other way around. They're like, man, Canelo is never going to let this man beat him, come up 2 divisions and beat him. It's going to be the same thing like when he fought Charlo, this and that and the other, and the woo and woo. So it was just a fun fight, man. It was a fun lead up. I regret not doing more content on it. I did a lot of shorts on it. That was actually one of the shorts that went super viral for me this year and brought in close to 1,000 subscribers. So I'm not mad about that, but I probably should have done more videos on it, more analysis and breakdown, but, you know, we can't look in the past, you know what I mean? We got to look forward. Playland said, what's Canelo doing now? Canelo is recovering from surgery, I believe, as of right now. What's next for Canelo for real? I think, to be honest with you, the 168 division is wide open now. As you guys know, some big news, Terrence Crawford retired. Retired. He is retired. But yeah, Canelo, what's next for Canelo, honestly, is I would say he can follow suit and hang him up now. I don't think he will, just because it's not the person he is. I think realistically at this point, Canelo can either go back and collect all the belts again. Again, Crawford retired. All the belts are vacated. The people will be fighting for interim. I'm excited for people at 168. I'm excited for, my boy Caleb Plant. I know he just came off of a loss. But, all these belts now can be fought for. These guys have a chance now to come back and try to get these belts. And I think it makes it interesting. I think now that Canelo has lost, too, it makes him look a little more beatable, man. Like, I know Bivol beat him, and he came back and won however many in a row before Crawford. But, I think it shows some of these fighters in that 168 division that there's holes in his game, and he can be beat. He's not this big, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, big, scary monster, I guess. Monstro. Canelo can't hang up now. 3 more years. I agree. I think Canelo like legitimately has 2 routes at this point. He can fight legacy fights and big money fights, right? Like just finish his career out doing that, right? He can go do legacy fights, fight some big names, maybe end up fighting a Jake Paul, or whatever, and cashing out on a bag or whatever down the road. He can kind of fight whoever he wants. If he wants to fight David Benavidez at 175, things like that. Or he can go back and reunify the division again and then make one last run again, have those 4 bouts. He's going to be able to fight for any title that he wants and then just be done. Get all the titles again, do the same thing kind of what Bud Crawford did and be out of it and arguably go down as obviously one of the greats. Maybe at the very end, 2 years, he chases it back on Jake Paul. Yes, I agree. I would say because he's 34, maybe almost 35 now. Maybe 33, 34, something like that. I would say like around Crawford's age, 37, 8, 9-ish. Go fight Jake Paul. Get a little bag. Do it. Why not? Have a couple more years. But I think he's going to come back, and I think he's going to have realistically, a couple big legacy fights. I think that's probably his route. Legacy fights and then finish everything out. So, but yeah, that's my top 10, man. That's my top 10 for boxing and for UFC. It was an awesome year, man. It really was. There's a lot going on in the world, man, but combat sports delivered, man. One last thing that I am going to go over that I had prepared for this is I want to go over the the Ring Magazine top 10. And let me see here. I want to see if there's a way I might have to, well, that's what I'll have to do. I'm going to have to take this one off. And I'll add this one on. All right, bet. So I'm going to zoom this in just a little bit here. This is the Ring Magazine pound for pound boxers. Let me redo that. This is the Ring Magazine pound for pound top 10 list, updated as of Christmas this year. He said, Playland said, be quick. I'll be quick. I'll get in and out of here. So this is the top 10, and you might notice everyone's like, yo, where's Terrence Crawford at? Why is Terrence Crawford not in here? They updated this on Christmas. Crawford retired early December. So with him being retired, he is no longer on the pound for pound rankings. He would definitely be number 1, I would say, if he hadn't retired. But he's retired now, and that's where we're at. So pound for pound rankings, and I agree with these for the most part. I think you could probably mess around and switch a couple in and out. But number 1, we got Usyk. Alexander Usyk, obviously we just talked about that. 2-time heavyweight undisputed, cruiserweight undisputed, He's beaten every name in the heavyweight division right now. I'd like to see him fight Itama this year if we can get that to happen. I mean, it may even be in the works right now, but I would love to see that. And then I don't know how much more there is for Usyk, honestly. So, awesome. Let's keep it rolling. Number 2, Naoya Inoue. We talked about him earlier because one of his fights was in my top 10. Just a dog, man. Year after year. He fights almost religiously 4 times a year, and he kills it. Just looks great. Jesse Bam Rodriguez just had a phenomenal... who was that against? He just fought. Jesse Bam Rodriguez. He's honestly one of my favorite fighters right now to watch. I love his style, love what he does. Jesse Rodriguez last fight. Was it Bam? I put Jam Rodriguez instead of Bam. Jesse Rodriguez. Puma Martinez, wasn't that right? And that's the last fight. Fernando Puma Martinez, yeah, a month ago. Phenomenal fight. It was on a great card. Fun to watch. Jesse Rodriguez. You could honestly, I could say you could probably flop him in Naoya Inoue, possibly. Just based off of activity and skill and the people they fight. So I'd say 1 and 2 could be flopped a little bit. Inoue could be number 1, 2, depending on activity, right? With Usyk not being as active, it's tough to be like he's the number 1, you know. So, but yeah, those top 3 can be kind of moved around a little bit, I would say. But Jesse Bam's fun, and he's only getting better, dude. And he's so young. He's like, what, 25 or 4, man. Like, dude, it's going to be so much fun watching him. And I'm sure he's going to climb a couple weight divisions. He's a 126 pounder now, I think, or yeah, 126, I think. So it's going to be fun watching him move around. All right, we'll roll through these quick, man. I only got a couple more minutes left before I need to promise myself I'll be off. Dimitri Bivol, number 4. Not mad at that. I know he is recovering from a hand injury. He just came off of one of the biggest wins of his career with Artur Beterbiev. And really, I think they just flopped. I think Beterbiev was 4 and Bivol was 5. So now that Bivol is 1, they just flopped him. Which, again, you can't drop somebody down that far for losing to the person right below you, right? So they just switched spots. Not mad at that. Junto Nakatani, he's been dogging it out. Very similar to Naoya Inoue, where he's just been kind of in the shadows, you know, out here doing it overseas. And people just don't really know that name. But I'm telling you right now, he's going to have a couple big fights in 2026, and we'll see it. Shakur Stevenson, number 7. Don't know how I feel about that, him being on there. But not him being on there, but him being as high as he is. I think it's kind of crazy. He's got a big fight coming up with Teofimo Lopez end of January, early February, something like that. So that's going to be a pretty big defining one there. Number 8, David Benavidez. I think David Benavidez should be 1 or 2 higher. I could say you could probably put him at 6 possibly if you really wanted to. So yeah, but yeah, David Benavidez, I think fully deserving of being on there. I think he's got a big fight coming with either the number 4 or number 5, the Bivol or Beterbiev. So I think those could be some big fights. Number 9, Devin Haney. I think he obviously had his loss to Ryan that I do believe he needs to get his get back on that still. I'm sorry, I think I moved the chat. Hopefully nobody's been commenting. Maybe at the very, no, let's see. I do have some new comments here. Let's see. Be quick. It sucks that Bivol gets a higher rating on this for beating Canelo than like Haney is on there and Canelo is not. Correct. Yeah, I'm actually about to get into that. I'm glad you said that. It does suck to see Canelo not on there, but he got beat, you know, with Terrence Crawford being like, he was number 1, number 2, I think. And Canelo was, what sucked is they had Canelo in there as like number 6 or 7. So I think him losing, they just knocked him out of it, which I don't think is right. But because Canelo's still Canelo. But yeah, I like that you said that. Beating Canelo, then like Devin Haney is on there and Canelo's not. I agree. I completely agree. Bro, literally, that's why it's BS. I agree, and this isn't necessarily how I feel. This is just the Ring Magazine's top 10, and it sucks, but that's just they are the boxing gurus, you know, so they got a group of board of directors that sit there and they go, this is what we do, you know. So, but yeah, Devin Haney being number 9 is kind of crazy. And being for like, they moved up Oscar Collazo. And like, so you're telling me Oscar Collazo is on the top 10 and Canelo's not even on there. Canelo loses to Terrence Crawford, one of the best to ever do it. And then they put Oscar Collazo on there, and that just seems kind of silly to me. But I honestly, I know of Oscar Collazo. I don't even know. Let me see. He's brand new. He's good. Oscar Manuel Collazo. Yeah. I'm trying to find the. I don't know, man. He's 8-0. He's only 8-0. I think it's silly. I think he's got a lot probably in his future, but having Oscar Collazo on there is kind of wild over Canelo. So it's a little bit skewed, man. It really is. But you might go on the ESPN pound for pound, and it's a little bit different. They might still have Canelo on there. You know what I mean? And then, but I remember for a grip, man, they had David Benavidez doing everything he was doing. They wouldn't even put him on the top 10. So it's fluid, but this, as of right now, is, you know, they call the Ring Magazine the Boxing Bible, right? This is your Ring Magazine top 10 fighters as of December 25th, as of Christmas. So, but yeah, so again, thank you guys for a phenomenal year, man. And we're going to have a bigger year in 2026. You know, there's a lot coming. I'm going to be back into doing my lives. We're only going to get better and better doing this again. And I'm sorry that I have not been there as much as I should have been, but you know, it is what it is, man. We just got to move forward. All we got is what we have moving forward. We can't, you know, dig too deep into what we didn't do in the past. So, but I appreciate you guys sticking with me. So many of you guys have stuck with me. So many of you guys have supported me. So many of you guys have still watched all the shorts, you know, and people send them back to me and say things and all kinds of stuff. So it's been amazing. TikTok is going well, man. We're almost to 1,000, whatever you call them on there, followers on TikTok. So thank you guys for that. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. And I'm excited for what 2026 has coming for us. I will be back. You guys will get sick of seeing my face again, I'm sure. And we'll rock it out, man. So I'm excited to see where we're going to be at. I have a goal of 10,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So today is day 1 of 365. By 365, I want to see 10,000 subscribers, and I think we could definitely do it, especially if I'm attacking it at all levels like I should have been doing this past year. You know, so I'm excited to see it. Let's see 10K, man. You know, we got a lot of big things coming for the brand too. So thank you guys for tuning in. He said, hell nah, we getting 100K. And that's fine with me too. 10K, I'm not trying to be too lofty. You know what I mean? 100K probably, 100K will probably happen. But 10K, reasonable, right? So again, I appreciate y'all, man. Thank you for always rocking with me, man. If you guys know where to find me, hit me up. Ask me any questions. Please comment, like, subscribe, share to a friend. If there's some fights on here that you thought were better, roast me in the comments for the list. Let me know. But yeah, comment your favorite fighters and everything on here. Favorite fights from this past year, and we'll chop it up for sure. So, all right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Peace.